Today is episode 2 of my custom Sandbox park in the Pennsylvania map. In today's episode, I will be making a Monolophosaurus enclosure, which will be the first dinosaur in this park. I'm also going to be adding a couple guest decorations just to increase the appeal of the park. I started by making this curved pathway, and then I lined the enclosure around it. I'm going to be using the Jurassic Park themed heavy fencing for this enclosure. I also extended the path a little bit here. I always like getting the fence as close to the pathway as possible, that way the guests have a very clear view of the enclosure. Next, I just had to design the area that I was going to put the viewing gallery. After connecting the viewing gallery to the path, I decided to add some lights and decorations around the entrance. I decided to add some of these new spotlights, some trash cans, and some benches, that way people would have an area to sit down. I then added these 2 canopies to give some shade. Now it was time to start working on the actual interior part of the enclosure. I started with these 2 small hills, and I put water down the middle. I then used the terrain paintbrushes to line the pond in sand. I added a feeder here right in front of the viewing gallery. And then I started decorating with some rocks. After placing the rocks, I started placing trees and plants to give a more 3-dimensional look to the enclosure. I was sure to include different colored trees just to add to the texture and diversity in this enclosure. Then I used the terrain brush just to add some bonus details, and then I was pretty much done with this enclosure. Then I started filling in this little open section in the path. I tried to use a variety of decorations by lining the pathway with it, and I really like how it turned out at the end. I also added lights just to make sure that the path was always illuminated during the nighttime. After lining the edge with the planters and lights, I added these 2 dinosaur skeletons as well as a dead log and some bushes and trees just to kind of add some thicker details. I then built a hatchery and I connected it to the rest of the paths, and then I started incubating the dinosaurs that I was going to be transporting into their enclosure. Here are 2 of the 6 Monolophosaurus that I introduced into this park. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the next episode.